morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will now commence the Pbi Session 4. Please enjoy.
Public Broadcasters International Seoul 2018. Welcome to Session 4. Connected Platforms and Public Service Media's Raison d'etre. Public service media is financed by and controlled for the public. Its core values include impartiality, accountability, and universal services. Once regarded as a pillar of democratic societies, public service media is facing tough challenges. One view is that public service media should be at the forefront of fighting against fake news and senseless commercialization in the media industry. Another view is that public service media has lived past its expiration date as it does not provide what other types of media can't. What is public service media's reason for its existence? To start the session, Mr. Gilles Marchand, Director General of Switzerland's SRG-SSR, will deliver a keynote speech, The No Bilag Saga, Public Service Media Face-to-Face with Universal Suffrage. Mr. Gilles Marchand.
So, my dear colleagues, thank you for the invitation. First of all, it's a real pleasure for me to be with you today, to be able to be with you today, because I am, I'm still alive. You will see that it was a quite strong and intensive experience. I am very glad to share with you some lessons learned from this incredible campaign against the service public media in Switzerland, against my company, against the SRG. A campaign followed all over the world. A unique adventure, I think we can say that, which saw the risk of a public service simply disappearing from the Swiss map. This was because of a popular initiative, a consequence of the political system of direct democracy in Switzerland. You know, normally when we think about Switzerland, a peaceful and rich country at the earth of Europe, a number of clichés spring to mind, such as mountains, such as nice Swiss cheese, and of course Roger Federer, the global hero, fantastic tennis player, and model son-in-law. All we need to add is maybe some chocolate and some banks, and we are good. But, dear colleagues, dear friend, but in this calm and very tranquil country, it was a very strange debate. We got very excited and torn apart for 6 months over the life or death of the public service media. And trust me, the discussion was not always smart and smooth. This is not the Swiss parliament, but this looks like a little bit. But don't say that, please. So after a long and very intense debate, I can confirm that the Swiss finally voted 4th of March 2018 very clearly in favor of public service broadcasting, and therefore for the maintenance of a public radio and television sector. That's the reason why I have the pleasure of meeting you today. The vote was a popular initiative. It's a frequent tool in the Swiss direct democracy where each citizen can ask to change the constitution through a popular vote if he or she is able to gather 100,000 valid signatures. We also use frequently a referendum to contest a law. Referendums are based on the same mechanism. So an initiative in Switzerland is used to propose a new law, while a referendum is used to contest a law. So in our case, the initiative against the public service included 3 main demands. First, the simple abolition of the license fee, and therefore an end of public funding of SRG and also some regional broadcasters. We have a license fee system in Switzerland, and we have 34 private radio and TVs. that received also a part of the license fee. So it was not only about SRG, it was about the public service mechanism system. And finally, and this is not very funny, but finally, the auctioning of radio and TV licenses. Actually, a yes to this initiative would have been the end of any kind of public service media in Switzerland. Maybe I had to add something. The name of this initiative was No Bilag. Why No Bilag? Bilag is the name of the company in charge of the license fee collect in Switzerland. And it was tricky formulate. People were asked to say yes to no Bilag. Can you see the small deal? So it was not very easy, it was tricky. You see the problem. In favor of the initiative, it was a new alliance of young libertarians who were at the very beginning of this dangerous idea, and a right-wing conservative party, UDC. So libertarian and very conservative classical party. That's a new alliance and a quite dangerous one. And in addition to that, the Swiss Union of Art and Crafts was also opposed to the license fee model, as well as various groups of citizens in anger who were expressing anti-establishment feelings. You may have also some kind of groups maybe in your countries. The arguments against us were simple, efficient, and therefore dangerous. In this video clip, Olivier Kessler, the chairman of the committee pro-initiative for German-speaking Switzerland, explains why, in his view, the license fee is an unfair tax which people are forced to pay. So warning, this is a strange language. This is the Swiss-German dialect. But don't be afraid. We have managed some subtitles. They are useful even for me.
Beilaggebühren müssen abgeschafft werden, weil sie die Bürger in diesem Land massiv entlasten, insbesondere geringverdienende Haushalte, die jeden Rappen umdrehen müssen. Das ist sehr wichtig, dass man im Zeitalter von steigenden Steuern, Abgaben und Gebühren den Bürgern auch mehr Wahlfreiheit lassen, dass sie selber entscheiden können, was sie mit ihrem hart verdienten Geld machen wollen. Und für das setzen wir uns ein.
Another example was with Nicolas Jutze. Nicolas Jutze was the chairman of the French-Swiss campaign against us. You have to know that we had to campaign in French, in German, in Italian, and in Romansh. That's the beauty of Switzerland. Huh? We have a lot of different languages, and we have to be very, very involved in each part of the country. In this video, Mr. Jutzet presents on TV his arguments in favor of the initiative. He believes the present license fee system is unfair and out of date. You will see that.
Bon, alors évidemment, les raisons sont nombreuses, mais la raison de fond, c'est parce qu'on pense que le système actuel est injuste et dépassé. Il est dépassé parce qu'il ne répond plus à la manière de consommer, qu'ont notamment la nouvelle génération et aux nouvelles technologies. Donc nous, on pense que sur le fond, c'est plutôt le citoyen qui doit décider lui-même, c'est lui qui doit être au centre de la discussion, et c'est pas aux politiciens de décider pour lui quels médias sont bons, avec une liste arbitraire qu'il doit soutenir chaque année et qui doit payer par la force. Nous pensons que le citoyen est responsable, qu'il peut prendre des décisions importantes dans la vie de tous les jours, comme il le fait quand il choisit son travail, quand il choisit ses amis, quand il choisit sa nourriture. Donc nous pensons qu'il est également capable de choisir le média qu'il a envie de soutenir, comme il le fait notamment, par exemple, dans la presse écrite. Donc c'est ce combat-là qui nous a motivés tout au début, et on a vu que la population a pris cette thématique à bras-le-corps et qu'elle en discute de manière extrêmement vive, et c'est extrêmement vitalisant pour la démocratie. Donc on est très fiers d'avoir mené ce débat-là, et on espère maintenant arriver à notre fin et enfin arriver à des réformes de fond.
C'est vrai que
They were very proud. Huh? They were very proud. I pay only what I consume. Was the position defended by the committee behind the initiative. I have to say also that many conservatives described SRG as an inefficient dinosaur, defending a monopoly which hinders market forces and pushes out the private sector, and as a colossus implementing a left-wing political program. You will see another one, funny one. This is a national councillor, Claudio Zanetti, from Zurich, member of the UDC, this right-wing party. He also accused SRG of being totally left-oriented. And he thinks that only a yes to the initiative could, in their opinion, put a stop to this tendency, or at least rein it in.
dem.
Völlig klar,
Bei einem
oder?
SRF habe ich aber einfach links. Wenn ich einschalte,
das stimmt
wenn ich
nicht.
es einschalte, wird mir zuerst einmal gesagt, was eigentlich alles, was ich dafür stehe, sage ich total sowieso von gestern. Ich werde ständig als ewig gestern, als rückwärts gewandt. Haben Sie übrigens auch gemacht dort am Podium, da in der Banana City. Auch, ja, nein, Sie da mit Ihrer Klientel, das ist einfach völlig normal. Und für das wollte ich nicht noch zahlen. Die sollen das meinetwegen machen. Aber ich will nicht jeden Tag beschimpft werden. Wir können heute wieder schauen in den Nachrichten, wenn es heisst Kohlekraftwerk in Polen, wie da einfach tendenziös der Standpunkt von Greenpeace vertreten wird. Wir könnten jeden Tag anschauen, es ist einseitige Propaganda.
Nein.
So trust me, as French Swiss speaker, when I had to debate against such kind of politician, that was quite tricky for me. And the Swiss-German language is something very special. But okay, we manage it. Many critics of the SRG claim there is a connection between SRG's public service mandate and what they see as its complicity with the state. In this background, the editor-in-chief of the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, a very well-known liberal conservative Swiss newspaper, also described SRG as a state broadcaster. And Roger Coppel, UDC national councillor, this right-wing conservative party, went as far as to compare SRG with the propaganda ministry of the Third Reich. This is just to give you a sort of flavor of the quality of the debate during this campaign. The effort to influence public opinion and the coverage of the initiative in the media began early in 2017, which was unusual in Switzerland for such kind of initiative. The supporters of the Yes campaign saturated the media with their arguments, whereas the anti-campaign had hardly begun. And I have to say here that it was not possible for us to campaign with public money. In addition, the first results of early opinion surveys somewhat disoriented the opponent of the initiative. Shortly after Christmas, it was a very bad Christmas period for me. Shortly after Christmas, the free newspaper 20 Minutes published an opinion poll. 51% of those questions were planning to vote yes. And trust me, SRG was then left in a state of high anxiety. But, because there is always a but subsequently, the opinion polls reflected a turning point in the campaign, and many people having been shocked into actions and realized they had to oppose the initiative. It was a sort of strong, very strong wake-up call. During this very delicate period, more than 286 organizations from sports, culture, movies, music officially took up position on the No Bilag initiative. A strong majority loudly affirmed their opposition to the initiative. 280 said clearly no to No Bilag. And in a direct democratic system, this is very important. The civil society is crucial in our political system. And I have also to say that we met all those organizations months before the campaign just to explain the issues of the vote. It was a very, very hard and intense lobbying period for us. Some independent regional and local committee organized also the political opposition. A national committee representing all political tendencies except UDC started. No to No Bilag was the claim. And it's important to say that we were not active in those committees, in those political committees. It was very dangerous for us to be part of the campaign. It was an issue of legitimation. And in addition, a young social liberal movement, Opération Libéraux, conducted a campaign of its own, particularly in the German-speaking Switzerland. Many cultural personalities committed themselves, launching an impressive petition which achieved thousands and thousands of signatures and conducted countless individual projects all over Switzerland. Their chief concern was that the initiative put in danger the media platform required to sustain the Swiss cultural scene, as well as many SRG projects in support of cultural life. The Swiss music scene also came out against the initiative, with a number of video clips produced under the Clap for Culture banner. Musicians of different origins, arts, joined themselves and composed the opposition soundtrack like this one.
Mia emissione la imparterela per qua di na al 4 de mars.
This is the Romansh language. As I said, we have 4 languages. This is in Romansh. So just to say to you that we had a lot of clips in the 4 languages, and that was also very important to be deeply involved in each part of the country. Something important to say out also is that the libertarian inspiration of the initiative was not very compatible with the principle of solidarity towards the many minorities of the country. We have those 4 languages and a lot of specific communities in Switzerland. Therefore, many people feared the dislocation of Switzerland and the disintegration of the principle of community. This is another video clip produced by independent Swiss filmmakers. SRG had nothing to do with this production, nothing to do. We discovered the video through the web, and you will see it was very impressive.
Bienvenue chez Stop Feu. Est-ce que je peux vous aider?
Chez nous, ça brûle, c'est affreux.
Votre identifiant d'abord.
Un identifiant? Mais il me faut les pompiers.
Sans identifiant, le système ne me permet pas de vous envoyer un véhicule.
Mais c'est complètement idiot.
On a voté sur ce point. Vous ne payez que quand ça se met à brûler. Je vous fais un abonnement anti-feu ou bien un forfait complet avec All Inclusive Risks?
Un forfait complet, de grâce.
Je vous mets ce forfait à quel nom, madame?
Rosemary Berchi.
C'est trop long.
Rosie Bert.
Ça va pas non plus. Il me faut plusieurs chiffres à côté des lettres. On pourrait mettre Rosie 234. Rosie 234?
So that was quite efficient, to be honest, and it was not broadcasted on our channel, it was on the web, because we were not allowed to broadcast on TV. So, moreover, given the limited size of the Swiss market, it will not be possible to finance any general interest program that was representative of the whole country and accessible free of charge. Just impossible in Switzerland to do that. A yes to the initiative would therefore have meant less diversity and a loss of important aspect of the Swiss identity and plurality in the audio and video field. And by the way, the UDC, this right-wing conservative party, very strong in Switzerland, which normally presents itself as the guardian of the Swiss culture, was the only major party to support this non-Swiss initiative. So it was therefore widely criticized for its lack of consistency. Some people feared also that if the media were fully privatized, financial interests and the growing concentration of the media in the hands of few groups would lead to a weakening of the 4th pillar of the independence of the print press and consequently of the Swiss democracy. This counter-argument was put forward mainly by this Opération Libéraux, a digital and very efficient youth movement. If the SRG were to lose 3/4 of its revenues because of the license fee, the management would have no other choice to implement the organized dismantling of the company. And I had to do that as a theoretical job, but I have to do that, and it was very, very hard to plan the dismantling of the company and in the same time to campaign for the survival. This was a strong argument of the SRG president here on TV.
Wenn ihr nicht mehr in der Lage seid, das Vollprogramm zu bieten, seid ihr weniger interessant für der Werbemarkt. Und das wieder so reduzieren, so dass wir wirklich heute müssen sagen, wir können nur geordnet, verantwortungsvoll die Unternehmung zurückfahren. Wir können die in dem Sinn nur liquidieren.
Y a-t-il vraiment pas de plan B?
Non, il n'y a pas de plan B parce que sans financement public, il n'y a pas de service public.
I have to say that our president is also able to speak in French and maybe in English. So during the campaign leading up to the vote, SRG's management several times stressed that there was no plan B, no plan B. We did, however, insist on the existence of a plan R for reform, which will be implemented if the initiative was rejected.
Premier élément, on va devoir faire un vaste programme d'économie en maintenant les prestations. Et puis, deuxième élément, deuxième étape de la fusée, nous allons devoir continuer à adapter notre entreprise à l'évolution de son public.
Yeah, you got my spring. Yeah, and moreover, SRG, with all its journalists, has a strong responsibility in public opinion building. We had to provide a very fair coverage of the campaign. But at the same time, we were the body most affected by the initiative. And so we had to perform a very tricky balancing act. And it was certainly not the easy part of this incredible adventure. Anyway, the 4th of March 2018, after 5 months of a very hard campaign, we obtained an impressive and honestly unpredictable result. 71%, more than 71% of Swiss citizens and all the Swiss cantons voted against the No Bilag initiative. That was great. That was really a great day for public service all over the world, I think. In all, during the campaign leading up to the No Bilag vote, almost 10,000 articles were published on the subject in the Swiss press, an average of around 65 per day. Can we imagine what does it mean for the press officer of SRG? 65 articles per day about the campaign. This campaign was largely conducted online. On Twitter alone, more than 9,000 users expressed their point of view by publishing almost 70,000 tweets. And for Switzerland, this is quite an impressive amount because we are, as you know, a very small country. In other countries too, the case of Swiss public broadcasting was widely reported in the media. From Germany to Canada, via the United Kingdom, the international media were extremely interested in the No Bilag initiative. These were countries whose public service broadcasters were also the subject of political discussions. They all wanted to know how we had managed the situation.
En Europe, les Suisses sont appelés aux urnes le 4 mars pour décider s'ils mettent fin ou non au système de redevance qui sert à financer la SSR.
Here the BBC, here the Deutsche Zeitung. So, what did we do to contribute to the no victory, and what lessons can be learned from that? I think that 5 key factors contributed to the victory. First of all, a new attitude on part of the SRG crews, a sort of new modesty was well received and made it possible to counter the populist approach of the yes camp. You know, the people against the elite. Then the political work done by the Public Affairs Department of the SRG in the run-up to the vote proved effective. According to the polls, a majority of Swiss people would have voted in favor of a counter-proposal. Reduction of the license fee by half, for instance. The outcome of the scenario relating to the counter-proposal in the parliament was decisive, absolutely decisive, for the clear no. The SRG's careful and transparent communication strategy was also very important, always saying the exact truth. The good editorial balance in the SRG programming was also crucial.
Ja, meine Damen und Herren, wir haben die Sendung heute Abend ausgewogen besetzt. Ein Pro, ein Contra. Das Publikum, das redet, ist ausgewogen zusammengestellt und die Redezeit von beiden Seiten wird gestoppt.
And finally, the wake-up call impact was crucial. The mobilization and awareness of civil society was certainly a key factor. Hey guys, this is important. Take it or leave it. There is no plan B. That was the claim. But these excellent results should not be considered as a blank check for SRG or as a visa for a status quo. The initiative was probably too extreme to be accepted. Many people said, no, but, because reforms were considered to be necessary. And effectively, the campaign permitted a vast dialogue with the society, a direct dialogue, without going through the traditional stakeholders, notably politicians. And this dialogue must continue in a permanent way. This is absolutely crucial. I think this is maybe the key lesson learned we can also share with you. And also something important is that clear response must be given to those sorts of legitimate comments. I'm sure you have it in your own countries too. It's something that we can frequently read everywhere. So the actual day of the vote, the 4th of March, we announced 3 strategic priorities. The SRG needs to make progress in 3 major areas. First of all, differentiation in program, in the attitude of the company too. Then cooperation. We need to cooperate more and more with the Swiss media, the Swiss private media. We need to be together. We are too small to be divided. And third, more efficiency within the company, because we had to save a lot of money. We have to save money because the license fees are going down. So we have started this strategic plan now, and we have to face new resistances. Resistance to change. We won the initiative on the basis of simple and efficient argumentation. The Swiss people wanted to keep their good public service. Implicit in the idea is keeping what you have. But movement, change, reform, it's something else, totally else. Everybody wanted that, and in addition, our budget is being reduced, so we have to act, but nobody wants to see something concrete, especially if it has a direct impact on their situation. So we are now crossing a new delicate phase, the passage from survival to reforms, and all of this in a media world, as in your countries, in a complete digital revolution. So this is very delicate, this is very sensitive, because all those who help us to win consider that we must keep what we have and what we do, which is exactly the opposite of a process of reform. Anyway, we won using a vision of our country, of our role, and I would like to end this small keynote with a short video that summarizes what I have said. This is the reason why of our engagement.
La Svizzera è un'idea dort speziella.
Un'idea grandiosa e condivisa.
Da fragt sich niemand, warum alles in 4 Sprachen angeschrieben ist.
On peut être soi-même en toute liberté sans se sentir exclu.
Hier ist alles einzigartig.
Unique dans son économie, même si on ne parle pas volontiers d'argent.
Einzigartige Politik, weil wir gemeinsam entscheiden, um unabhängig und frei zu sein.
È unica nello sport, perché lanciamo le pietre più pesanti e colpiamo le palline gialle come nessun altro al mondo.
Unique dans sa musique, sa littérature et ses arts, et parfois même insolite.
La Svizzera è un'idea sicuramente molto particolare, un'idea che condividiamo tutti i giorni con voi.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. And Annyeong Haseo, good morning to everybody. My name's Sally Ann Wilson. I'm the CEO of the Public Media Alliance, which is the largest global association for working with public media worldwide. And we provide support and advocacy throughout the world to public media. We work very closely with PBI every year. We used to have an annual conference. Now we work very closely with PBI to have one annual conference for public media leaders. And just a couple of years ago, we did some research with public media CEOs, because when it comes down to it, that one person is the interface between their organization, their country, and their government. And I think we see in Gilles, I think you must have felt that last year. Do you sleep at night now?
Very well, very well.
But
especially in Korea, I have to say.
But it is extraordinary, and we're seeing this sort of situation play out more and more around the world, as I think the public increasingly has identified media with entertainment. At the public media, we realize that actually public media is entertainment plus, and it's those pluses that make the difference in people's lives. How has it altered your view, that whole very unpleasant experience, very stressful experience as a CEO? How has that altered your understanding of the relationship between public media and democracy?
Well, you know, as I said, we have this direct democracy system. It means that we need to provide a good, strong, independent, balanced information in 4 languages. Because if we don't do that, the system doesn't work. That's the first key point in Switzerland. Switzerland needs to have such kind of system because of the direct democracy. And then, also, as I said, we have those 4 languages, 4 cultures. It's not only a languages issue, it's really a culture issue. So the cohesion of the country is made through the respect of the diversity. And we have to produce and to broadcast content able to express this diversity. And I think that if you add these needs of good information and these needs of diversity, cultural production in diversity issues, then you have the legitimacy. But it's not enough to do that. You have to explain it. That's the point, and directly.
Yeah. That's something I think we'll all come back to later. How important was it for you that there was a direct relationship in terms of the public paying to you rather than a government situation? We know Denmark has recently actually gone the other way and got rid of a direct public license fee. Is it important for you to have that direct connection?
Yes, it is. And you know, I think that the population is maybe the best supporter of the public service in Switzerland. If we had to go only through politicians, I do believe that today my budget will be more or less down. But the population was strong enough to say, no, it doesn't work. And I think that another issue is that the direct license fee system means that you have a better independence in front of the politician circles. And I think it's a key issue to keep it. And we try to explain that this direct license fee system is certainly hard for a lot of people in Switzerland, but it's the best way to keep this good relationship between state and media and public media. And for that, I am a total fan of this license fee system.
Okay, I think because, you know, even on the panel today, we will have broadcasters who have the money directly from the government and others that get the license, have a license fee. You weren't allowed to campaign. That was the law. But actually we saw there's some pretty spectacular civic society campaigning on your behalf. How did you cover the campaign yourself?
As I said, it was absolutely balanced, and that was the only rules we had to keep in mind every time, to be balanced. Because if we were not balanced, then the legitimacy of the public service will have really crashed. But when I said I made no campaign, I have to explain that there is maybe a small difference between campaigning and explanation. You know, we did a lot of explanation. I met personally thousands of people. I made hundreds of debates in several languages. That's a typical Swiss issue. You know, you have to be faced. You have to go. You have to explain. You have to be part of the debate. And so it's a way to campaign, but not using public money. What was for us impossible was to use our channels, our power, our media power. That was absolutely impossible. But to be in a direct contact, to explain, to debate, every day, every night, every evening, that was our job during 6 months, yes.
I think the tendency of many big media organizations is when they're under pressure to centralize, to become defensive. We see that often. You actually devolved responsibility to your different regions. Why did you make that decision? I mean, you'd made a brave stance to say, no, we're not going to compromise. Your allies were even telling you to compromise. You refused, and then you gave the power to your regional bureau and your regional chiefs.
Yeah, it's once again we tried to be to fit with the direct democracy system. That's the way we do in Switzerland. You know, you can't be alone to speak. You have to share the voices. You have to share the debate. And then we also decided to do that because it was absolutely useful to explain in each country, in each part of the country, in each areas, why it was so important to keep this system. You know, maybe just to conclude, but we have this solidarity system about finance within the company. The Swiss-German part of Switzerland is able to gather around 70% of all our incomes, but they keep only 40%. The Italian part of Switzerland can just gather around 4% of the global incomes, but they receive 20. You see, there is a sort of repartition, a solidar repartition of the means. And for that, it was absolutely crucial to go in each part of the country and to express this specific organization.
And my final question before we move into the wider session, has it changed your perception in terms of, are we doing enough to promote what public media is worldwide before other director generals, other CEOs get put in the position you're in? Could we be doing any more?
Yes, definitively yes. I think it's never done. It's never made. We always have to re-explain. We always have to be open. To be open to criticism. To be open to explanation. Transparency is also a key issue for public service. What I try to say is that it's not only an issue of programming. It's also an issue of the company attitude. How can you act as a company? And I think that a public service should act a little bit different as a private company, in sense of accepting criticism, accepting to be transparent, accepting to be open-minded to other. And I think it's at the end, it's the only reason why we are still alive. We just explain exactly the situation.
Thank you very much. I think it's rare at PBI we get an opportunity to really interrogate somebody who's been in the position you've been in the last year. So thank you, and if we can show our appreciation while our other panelists come up to join us on the stage, please. So to debate this all more widely, we have panelists, Mr. George Severin from Radio Romania. George, if you want to go straight to the podium, because you'll do the next brief presentation. Mr. Sean Poulter from CBC Radio Canada, and Dr. Surat from the Academy of Public Television Broadcasting in Thailand. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think... Okay, so Gilles, thank you very much again for joining us and for sharing your insight. I'm sure if we have time for any questions and answers at the end, we can perhaps come back to you. So, George, you have a very different perspective on how it's funded, but how's life been for you in Radio Romania?
Yes. Okay, thank you. It's hard to take another subject after what Gilles told us, because we must admit it's, in my knowledge, the only one who had the execution program and defined by the public. And the result from Switzerland is not only another chance to live for the public media from this country. I think it's very important for all of us from the public media and all over the world. And we have a chance to survive in this hard competition. Of course, I want to start by I want to say thank you to our friends from KBS, for all team of Korean media who organize this conference at high level. We, Radio Romania, we organized last year in Sinaia, so we know very well what effort it's supposed, and we appreciate a lot of the hard work. And I want to say in my name, in the name of Radio Romania, and probably in the name of all, thank you to our friends from KBS. After that, maybe it's strange, the title, Spotify, a Change for Public Radio. Why? Because you know very well the radio, it's the old sister of the public media. A lot of people talk about the fact that we're going to disappear or we'll be another thing, that we are very clear our vision about the public radio. Of course, we have the sounds. We work with the sounds. Of course, if you know very well, the first was Edison and the phonograph. After that, we have public media, public music from the beginning of the last century. By the way, next week, in the 1st November, Radio Romania, we're going to have 90 years for the first broadcasting. So it will be a special moment for us. We worked, and the guys like me, we have a good collections of vinyl. We have all the radios. I think if I go home, I will find in a box some tape of all the cassette recorders. And of course, the compact disc is something that we can find, but we don't use it. And MP3 and iPod is very nice, but I think all we prefer now, the streaming method and all the rest. In consequence, I think that we discuss that maybe the radio, how we know it, we're gonna die. But we have arguments. We knew very well that we have a chance to win this battle, and why not to be the king of the music? Maybe not the king, but the queen, sure. The streaming services had a long history, and we talk about the official streaming, because non-official and underground are a lot more. I remember when I was very young, and for me, Napster, it was like God in the earth. Of course, when the MP3 was realized in 1993, so almost 25 years ago, it was a moment that, of course, we can say it's a new history in the term of music, of streaming, and to access the rest. 2001 and Mr. Steve Jobs, the iPod. I don't want to eliminate the Walkman from the 80s, but the iPod gave us the music in the pocket and in a high quality for the moment. Last FM, especially in USA, but in other countries, it's working even now. And with iTunes Store and the rest, everything is in another league. Pandora, Bandcamp, everything is okay. But now we have Spotify. Why I take the Spotify like example from 2008? Not only because it's an European company, but first of all because they give a free service. And in countries like Romania, this is very important. Of course, we talk about a lot of other companies, but I think we must talk about this. What are our arguments in this competition? We, the classical radio, against Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Apple Music, and the rest. First of all, we are not only music. We are another thing. We give understanding. We create the possibility to look, to interact, to share. We give information. And of course, we must admit that we need something new. And for us, and I think for all of us, the podcast, it's our counter-attack. Of course, we have another chance. We can focus to the people, to their problems, to their needs. And of course, we can give utilitarian information. We love Spotify, but if will be an accident on the highway, this is the radio that gives the information and not Spotify. But we have another advantage. We think that we address to all the people, from the 7 years or 3 years, if I think to my granddaughters, even to the 80s and 90 years. The streaming services are focused in some lines, commercial people, of course, and the young. I love to be young, but I'm not. But the public radio and the radio had another chance. We educate the people. We can give a culture. We can give the chance of option in not only by a click, but the chance to choose consciently, of course. But we must admit, Spotify had the arguments too. First of all, there are an idea. If we don't listen streaming, we are old. I listen streaming. I hope you too. But unlike radio, in terms of streaming, everything it's carefully shaped and calculated. We have seconds, we have everything in an algorithm that give the result that I don't know if we want it, but the owners of Spotify and the rest of the network, they want it. Streaming had another advantage. It's more objective about the artists. You know very well to go to promote a career of an artist in the radio and television has a lot of subjectivity. In the streaming services, it's only numbers, it's only money. So we know very well a lot of great artists prefer now to launch their products on Spotify, Deezer, and the rest, and not on the CD or on the radios. There are new names there are in the industry now, and there are the stars of the streaming services. Taylor Swift, if I remember, it's a specialist of launching products on streaming. And we must admit, we are not all Norway with total digitalization, and the quality of sound on the streaming services, especially in Tidal, are better. It's CD quality, not FM quality. But this fight, it's very, very tough. I told about Spotify, Apple Music, Play Music, Zonga, Tidal, Deezer, YouTube, of course, and many others. But we use the example of Spotify because they have this free service, and in Romania it was a very strong penetration. Spotify started to, but we have a new challenge. It was an area where the radio was the king until now, the car. For us, you know very well, the first time, the prime time, it's the hour of super driving to when you stay blocked on the highway or in the center of the city. Now, we can listen with the help of the CarPlay and the rest, Spotify in the car, everything is connected. So Spotify started to promote the audio podcast, and of course we risk and we have a concurrent on online news platforms. It's not easy, but we must fight, of course. Spotify was launched in Romania in 2018, so this year. But all this, it was interesting because we can quantify what's happened. And now we see that in Romania, 70% of Romanians use mobile phones and a smartphone. Okay, I saw the time. 40% of Romania lives in rural areas, and the most affordable internet service costs €3. So most Romanians listen to traditional radio, but Spotify is very strong in the big cities. Radio audience remains dominant in Romania. 67% of the population listen to radio, and I'm proud to say the public radio, of course. But we lose audience every day because of the streaming services. I don't want to go in the numbers. I am very sure that this presentation will be sent to all the participants. But in this moment, 60% listen classical radio, 11% radio online, and 2.1 don't make a choosing. Of course, we can go to the reaction of the audience, and we saw that a small number of persons choose a subscription of Spotify, but the young consumers have reacted very positive to the free choice of Spotify. And we have another problem, the artists. For example, we saw that the big artists of Romania, for example, Andreea Balan, top singer in Romania, he prefers You saw to support the new system because she said the money is made in the online, not in the radio. And we must take solutions. Another singer accepted that the idea that Spotify will be the future for the artists. So we must find solutions. Of course, the music productions go to online in Romania too. And in this case, we saw that a lot of producers consider that the FM is not enough for what they made. The radio industry had a reaction very interesting. First of all, we increased the original content. The private radio invest in music stars, in aggressive marketing campaigns, and of course, promotion of the online presence. But even with the DG and the rest, we, the public radio, we can compete with the private station because we have another mission than a commercial station. So, I'm the conclusion.
We do have to make time for other speakers.
Exactly.
So thank you.
And our most important capital is the trust. The public radio had the trust capital, and I think this is our chance to survive and to compete equal to equal to the Spotify and the other streaming services. Sorry about the timing problem.
Thank you very much. I think at the end you got to the real essence of what this panel is about, is trust, and how with social media maybe that's more of a challenge for public media as to how we can live up to that trust and continue. Dr. Sudarat, you're Deputy Director General of Thai PBS, if you'd like to come. I remember at PBI, I think in Japan, maybe 2007, we were all very excited by the fact that Thailand had decided to set up Thai PBS with a syntax as a way of raising the money. So welcome to the podium and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Yes, we are from Syntax. We are from various PMS organizations with more or less the same principles. A bit different in terms of details, but facing the same situation. If you had listened to yesterday until today, we face the same situations. And Thai PBS is also one of us, is in the same boat. We are only 10 years old, pretty young, not a teenager yet, but the doomsday is coming so close. I try to make it relaxed, okay? 10 years old, we have our own law, and we earmark tax, that is the tax from alcohol and tobaccos. But we don't promote alcohol and tobaccos. We got like fixed income for each particular year from the tax, which is about $62 million for 10 years already. And this is our 10 years. The situation, as you said, well, digital disruption, increasing number of digital television. We used to have 6, but now 22 plus. Netflix, cable TV, so everything. So rising of social media. I'm addicted to social media also. Audience is changing a lot. They turn away from television, go to more social media. This is what we already recognized. Hostile competition bring us to fake news, misinformation, sensational news stories, sensational anchorman. Today, the anchorman in Bangkok, they just put a lot of dramatized action and also put a lot of opinion into it. Product placement gone everywhere. Once you got an interview program, the movie star just said, oh yeah, I got very nice skin because of this, and then they just take something like any cream, any lotion or whatever, all the time. So the other thing that come into our mind is AI coming, artificial intelligence. Are we gonna lose job again to all these machines? Well, I got a seminar a few days ago, and then they talk about how we're gonna use technology in our for broadcasting. For example, data mining, language processing, search engine, language generation, personalization, text-to-speech, publishing strategies. So let these artificial intelligence deal with routines job. So we better go for creative jobs. Actually, we got an opportunity. A few months ago, if you can recognize, Thailand was on the front page, and even BBC covers. The case of Tham Luang Cave rescue, the boys and his coach, and their coach got stuck in the cave, which were flooded. So that was the time that hundreds of reporters go to the scene from everywhere in the world, and that's my opportunities. We got to be number one among those stations who are trusted by the people. They vote for us, even a small survey, but we are very proud of it. Well, let's go to the point. Why do we need public media service? Of course, we do things that other commercials won't do. That's the point. So we have to differentiate ourselves from the others. Rating is not important, but we have to look at rating also. Public affairs, criticize, analyze. Public participation is our major roles, major policy. We aim to be media for all. Invest a lot on ADCC for disabled and able alike, serving the diversity. We promote good citizenship and also a better society. We are that good. So why don't you need me? Oh, well, I think this is like relationship, love relationship. You know, when you were young, you got heartbroken, and then the girl say that you are too good. So I leave you for a bad one. Well, I'm gonna treat it as a love relationship also. The strategy of Thai PBS, first, principle, the trustworthiness must be strengthened. We don't have to talk about this. We learn from the lesson. Crisis reporting is something that we are good at. So we want crisis every day to go to a high ranking. Okay. We even set the team to cover crisis reporting, a special team. The thing is, in the old day, we usually think what we are going to offer, but we never asked the audience, do they want things from us? what they want from us. So we put a lot of efforts these few years on research, audience analysis, audience insight, data analytic. That is something that we have to understand, that they change to what? What do they want from us? We are not going to tell ourselves that what do we have to offer, but we can ask what do they want from us. Well, we understand that we cannot go for mass, so we have to go for segment. The television, we focus only on two parts, that is the kids with parents and also the 40 plus. Our audience are aging, just like me. So the rest of the audience will go to online. So we focus online on those particular audience, the younger one. Well, we try to make our personality seems to be different from each particular group. For on air, it's going to be like a protector, a hero, because we protect the society. We call this one Pitak in time in protector. That one. And the online, we call it Vipar. Vipar is in Thai name, come from vision and passion. So it's a vibrant one for a younger generation. And the third one is we go a lot on ground. On ground means wadi is the word values and difference. So we work a lot on ground, especially to link the three things together. And partnership is our most valuable asset. So we try to turn our audience into partners. Well, for example, learning space. We create learning space at our station. This is more like a content fairs every month, so that they can join us, they can get to know us, and inside the content fair, we can turn programs into workshops for our audience, and we can turn our programs, for example, kids program, into low-tech DVD to spread it to the rural school. We set up a team called Thailand Life team that go to every village, and the answer is in the village, so we can voice out the voiceless closely. We try to integrate on-air, online, and on-ground together. For example, we got a science project, a program which is dealing with science for the kids. So we turn that programs into a camp for a teacher, teach teacher how to teach science, especially the STEM. And from that one, we set up a network of the teachers, and the teacher will create the clips, technique to go online for us. So these are the pictures. Seaside is the application that we use to bring in the participation from people in the rural countries to be a part of our stories. So, as I say, like relationship, you need to understand the one that you love. You have to be easily accessible. If you look at somebody and then you want that somebody to love you, you have to walk around to show you present within their eyes, and then engage them into relationship and let them see your good thing, trustworthiness, and feel that we are a necessity to their life. This is Thai PBS. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sidarawat. Our final presentation is from Sean Poulter from CBC Radio Canada, with your view on what makes public service media. Thank you.
Thank you, Céliane. And on behalf of the new president and CEO of CBC Radio-Canada, Catherine Tate, I'd like to say how honored I am to be here. I'm also very grateful to KBS for hosting PBI Seoul. Given the discussions that we're having about the role of a public broadcaster, I feel that it's very timely to be here, and it's been a great discussion. There's a lot of things that we can talk about as the sort of raison d'etre of public broadcasting, but I would suggest to you that it all flows out of one thing, and that is our role in the public space. Our ability to protect the public space for our citizens. You know, over the last 5 to 10 years, we've all been working to balance our budgets, to modernize our services, to remain relevant, to serve all our citizens. And while we've been doing that, the public space, the space where all of our citizens are supposed to be able to participate, to engage about the things important to them, that space is being hijacked. And it's undermining public trust, trust in media, in public institutions, and in civil society. In my country, the government invests public funds in the public broadcasters so that we can inform, enlighten, and entertain Canadians, and as a result, to promote social cohesion. But today, whether it's politics, climate change, Me Too, I think you can see that tribes are speaking to tribes, and they're using the public space to yell at each other. 2/3 of Canadians now say that they are worried about false information or fake news being used as a weapon. And it turns out they have good reason to worry. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the Internet Research Agency, the Russian organization. We found out last year that they were targeting Canadians as well on issues that were hot button issues in Canada. The goal, to take over the public space, to change public discourse, to undermine, and we now realize there is a network of like-minded people who are also using this public space to feed off of each other. And I'd like to give you one recent example. A month ago in Toronto, a newspaper columnist wrote that refugees who were temporarily being housed by the government in a Toronto hotel had turned it into a refugee camp, and that, in fact, animal services needed to be called because goats were being slaughtered in the bathrooms. Now, the piece was fake. It was based on fake and anti-refugee reviews that had been posted on the travel website TripAdvisor. In the first few days, the story received more than 13,000 shares, comments, and reactions on Facebook. The far-right website Rebel Media, which is based in Canada, then picked it up and shared the column with its hundreds of supporters. Then the infamous fake news website InfoWars picked it up and shared it with its millions of followers. A white nationalist candidate for mayor in Toronto tweeted the following to her 100,000 followers: "Goat roasts and gunfire. Illegals continue to flood Toronto." That evening, someone entered the hotel and set fire to a couple of gallons of gasoline in a hallway. The hotel staff were able to put the fire out. Police are investigating it as arson. But today, the people who are in that hotel, the people who left everything to come to Canada, are afraid to leave the building. So these kinds of stories are spreading in a network of their own. And if we're going to do what Tony Hall referred to yesterday, of ensuring that the fake doesn't drive out the fair, then we need to start taking control again of that network. And it turns out we have a network. It's us. We know that countries with strong public broadcasters have higher levels of trust. I believe that's because we have principles: independence, transparent journalistic standards, accountability. Those things are indicators of trust. But I do think it's appropriate for now for us to clearly define what it is we stand for, including what I would propose is a responsibility to protect the public space. Now, you remember it was about 13 years ago the UN General Assembly adopted a responsibility to protect for populations, for genocide, war crimes, and ethnic cleansing. And I'm sure you'll agree it hasn't been perfect, but R2P has been a powerful declaration of intent and commitment to joint, timely action. Now, this isn't genocide, but we know that the public space is fundamental to a healthy society. We're not the only ones with the responsibility, but I think it falls to public media to lead, to develop a clear sense of principles, to work with the like-minded in our own countries and with public media around the world to safeguard the space. Now, in Canada, that means we work with other media organizations who share our values to try and strengthen trust in news, to make it easier for Canadians to know what information they can trust. We're also working with transnational initiatives like the Google Trust Project to give citizens all over the world the tools to help judge news for themselves. And crucially, we want to work with all of you, with public media organizations around the world, to rebuild trust. Because although we serve Canadians, information and their information is global. And we have an interest, and frankly a self-interest, in ensuring that all Canadians, all citizens, have access to that healthy space. That space today is the world. So, what are the principles we can agree on? What are the standards that we're prepared to uphold? Not all of us may agree on all the principles, but I think we need to find out. We need to be clear about what we stand for and work with those who share our commitment. Now, I know that Sally Ann and PMA are looking at these issues. We think this is an important initiative and we support it. It is urgent, but I also believe it is a tremendous opportunity right now. We've noticed a change in Canada in the last couple of years. In the current climate, people do recognize the value of the public broadcaster as a source of trusted information and as a place online where people can engage with each other in a civil way. And that's why I think protecting the public space is the public media's raison d'etre. And finally, if it's not us who are going to take the lead in protecting this, then I ask you, who will or can? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So on that note, if you could put up just the one slide that I had, and I will not do a presentation as such, but perhaps lead through the panelists a discussion and bring in the audience as to where we think we are with that. So thank you very much. I've been working in public media for a very long time, both as a practitioner, as a journalist, as a documentary maker, and then coming to the organisation that I now run some many years ago. I remember being at Pbi in Sintra in Portugal in 2008, and everybody was very depressed. I have never seen such a miserable bunch of CEOs. They were seeing the economic crash, they were seeing the pressure, they were beginning to see the growth of the global digital giants. Public media, anybody said was old, it was dead, what could we do with it? Now, in the intervening years, we've seen something start bubbling. We saw a number of reports from the EBU, from BBC Media Action, where in fragile states, public media, having that shared, safe public media space for either the public broadcaster or other like-minded organizations, for people to be able to debate and discuss in a civilized manner, was something that was really important to democracy, to our futures, to our common futures. Now, what we've seen worldwide, and PMA sits and watches the public media space worldwide every single day, is a growth in authoritarian media, media that is heavily state-controlled, media that is suddenly everything goes quiet, no public debate, and actually we're seeing a lot of journalists coming under great pressure, and as we know, many are either imprisoned or losing their lives. We're also seeing the rise of populism through incredible social media venting of anger and totally uncontrolled and unacceptable. I mean, I was very touched the other day when we had the first introductory concert here, and Koreans were talking about manners. We see great civilization, particularly in Asia. You know, we see the beauty of civilization all around us in the beautiful place. We had supper last night. So how are we, as public media worldwide, going to come together and stand up for what we do? Because in most countries, since public media started evolving in the 1920s with radio and TV, it has become the domestic brand that we fight for. We fight for the BBC, for SABC in South Africa, for ABC in Australia, for KBS in Korea, NHK in Japan. But where do we come up and say, this is what public media stands for? Because it has changed. It has changed. It's not just about broadcasting. We saw and heard yesterday how KBS are changing. We understand from our breakfast this morning that the presidency of KBS is being decided. There are 3 candidates now. And in a move to be more public, involve the public, because that's what they expect in a social media age, the 3 candidates have to go into the assembly today and stand before public questioning from 12 a.m. to 6 p.m., which will be on Facebook. And I saw a lot of CEOs around the breakfast table this morning go very pale at that thought. I think some of them have decided they'd rather go back to having a board appoint them. Because that's where we're moving to if we're going to compete with the social media. We have to demonstrate our public participation. So this is, you know, ever since I can remember being in public media, it's always been a critical time for public media. But this really is a critical time for public media, whether we're PBI, PMA, whether we're individual organizations. Are we going to just sit and let the great social media giants keep saying what they do and use their massive amplifiers? I mean, Georgiou said, you know, on Spotify, you can, they've got the access. The technology gives them everything. But where is our voice? I don't hear it as a global voice. And that's what we need to do. If you agree, you're running these organizations, not us. But I think we somehow have to consolidate around building consensus about what we do, and it will be different in different contexts, but there will be some contexts that we say, no, this is not public media, so that we don't have some sort of capture of public media, state capture, populist capture of public media. We have to be clear, we have to discuss how it moves on, and I'm sure that will continue next year at Pbi in Finland, but we also have to seize the moment. At public media, we're very good at sharing the moment, but now I think we have to seize the moment. So, coming back to the panelists for the last few moments, Georges, how do you feel? You're passionate about what you do. Thankfully, you're passionate about radio and audio, which is so important to public media. How do you take this forward in Romania?
It's very hard to say, because we talk about this attack of the new media, of the social networks, fake news and the rest. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, the public media didn't change too much in the last decade about the content, about the trust. Maybe we changed technological, especially the TV stations, the TV companies. The most important thing that it's happened in the last decade, it was the fact that the new options, the network, Facebook, and the rest had create a feeling of disappointment. So if in 2008, because we talk about this moment, we think that the social networks can be weapons, hybrid wars, manipulate elections and the rest, maybe the attitude of the audience and of the companies and of the states will be possible it was another. So in this moment, I think the public media regain the trust.
Okay.
This is the most important, but not because we are most trusty, but because the alternative are very disappointed.
So it's not that we're good, it's just they're very bad.
No, no. We are good, are not better than 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
This is the idea.
But I think trust is going to be central to our arguments
Exactly.
going forward.
We have we must be responsible because the decision that we take, like CEO, like reporters, journalists in the public media, must be authenticated by the trust.
Okay, so we just have 3 minutes. So Sudarat, as long as Thai people carry on smoking and drinking, we have a safe public media space in Thailand, is that right?
They try to take away the money to do something else. So we are in a struggle, trying to, just like our guest before, explaining ourselves why we should be in the society, why we have to exist. That is something that we have to protect ourselves also. Because they want the money to go back to the hospital rather than go to the Thai PBS.
Okay, so I think this, we've got trust, we've got how we're funded. Sean, you've got the last 2 minutes.
I would say that from our perspective, it's really about, I think we know in general that there are some basic principles, right? For us in Canada, it's things like tolerance, equality of citizens, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, accountability, all those things. But really, I think for us and for public media, what we need to be thinking about is what are the tools that citizens need in order to participate fully in the democratic lives of their country. And if you think of it that way, you start off with information, good, solid information about the things that are important to them, and ensuring that they have an opportunity to engage with each other, with their governments, with their public broadcaster, and so providing a platform where they can do that, where they can express a diversity of views, and to make sure the public broadcaster reflects those views, but based on fact. And I think that's really our value proposition now.
Thank you. I'm sorry there isn't time to involve you all in the conversation, but I think hopefully it's the start of a very important conversation that certainly PMA and I'm sure PBI will want to carry on in the next few months. We will be working out how we can ask you all to come together and opt into some very clear ideas about what public media is, whether you're a member of PMA or not. We would like you to sort of work with us, share your best expertise with us as to how we can move forward. It's 10:30. I've had a wonderful time in Seoul, but I want to make sure I can come back again. So I'm going to finish at 10:30 and say thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your stay here. And of course, thank you to the panelists. Please give them a show of hands.